In the name of Allah, the most beneficent and the most merciful. Assalamu alaikum, students. So the topic of our today's lecture is carbohydrates. Today we will be discussing that what are carbohydrates, what are their biochemical functions, and what is the classification of carbohydrates. Okay, so let's start with the introduction of carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are macromolecules. What are they? Actually, they are macronutrients. What are they? They are macronutrients. What does macronutrients mean? It means that they are required in a large quantity by our body to maintain the normal physiological functions of our body. Okay, so what are they? They are macronutrients. And how much should we take carbohydrates? Approximately 45% to 65% of the diet we take should constitute of carbohydrates. Okay, 45 to 65% should constitute of carbohydrates. Now, what are carbohydrates? As the name vaguely shows, that it will be a carbon atom which will be hydrated. Okay, so these are hydrated carbon atoms. We have a blur idea, so they are hydrated carbon atoms. But to be really exact, they are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. What are they? They are either polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, or they are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones held together by glycosidic linkages represented here to form larger molecules. Okay, so either they are polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones. Now, what are the polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones? These are monosaccharides. Or if they form larger subunits, what will be the larger units? What will be they called? Disaccharides, oligosaccharides, and likewise polysaccharides. Oligosaccharides and polysaccharides are the units formed after the combination of these polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones, and the exact polyhydroxyaldehydes or ketones are the monosaccharides. So the carbohydrates basically perform two functions. Either they are the constituent of they are a structural constituent of different structures or different tissues or different membranes, or they provide energy. So the fuel of life, the most discussed carbohydrate is glucose. What is it? Glucose. The thing you should remember is glucose is also known as the fuel of life. Glucose is known as the fuel of life. Why? Because it is important for the production of ATP. It is important for the production of ATP, and approximately 32 ATP are produced by one glucose molecule with. Okay, so now coming towards the biochemical functions of carbohydrates. One thing we should discuss is that carbohydrates are actually sugars or saccharons. What are they? Sugars or saccharons. Of course, as the name shows, they will provide sweetness to different things. We can use them in our dishes or so on for sweetness. Okay, so the most sweet carbohydrates is fructose with a percentile sweetness of 175%, while it is the natural one. Fructose is the natural sweetest sugar, while xylitol is an artificial sweetener. What is xylitol? It is an artificial sweetener with 20 to 50 percentile sweetness, sweetness, while fructose is a natural sugar which has 175 percentile sweetness. Now, coming towards the function of the carbohydrates, of course, they are main source of energy and represent approximately 4 calories of energy per gram. 4 calories of energy per gram, and they also represent the storage form of energy in animals, and both in animals and plants. In animals, glycogen represents the stored form of energy, while in plants the starch represents stored form of energy, and they are also structural components of many structures. For example, cellulose is a component of plant cell wall, chitin is a component of fungal cell walls. Likewise, cell membranes also contains carbohydrates in the form of glycoproteins and glycolipids. Okay, and they are also the precursors for the formation of fats and amino acids. Carbohydrates also serve as precursors for fats and amino acids. Moreover, they promote digestive functions, and of course, the carbohydrates that are not digested by human body. For example, cellulose is not digested by human body because of the absence of enzyme called cellulase. Because of the absence of enzyme cellulose is not digested by our body, and thus it helps in maintaining the bulk of feces and relieves constipation. So it is a major component of fiber. Carbohydrates are major components of fiber, and they are used for relieving constipation naturally. Okay, and now coming towards cell growth, of course, when there will be no ATP, there will be no energy, there will be no cell growth, and they are also involved in adhesion and semen. Now, semen contains fructose, which helps to provide energy to the sperm. Okay, so we said that they are important for fertilization. Now, coming towards the classification of carbohydrates, carbohydrates are divided into three main classes. What are these? These are monosaccharides, oligosaccharides, and polysaccharides. So the monosaccharides, as the name shows, monosaccharide, single saccharon or single sugar. So they will contain a single unit and they cannot be hydrolyzed further because they are single units, so they cannot be hydrolyzed further. Okay, they have the general formula CnH2n, which shows the actual carbohydrate form. Okay, so it has CnH2n formula, which is the representative of carbohydrate. Okay, so they cannot be hydrolyzed and they are sweet in taste and are crystalline solids and are soluble in water, and they occur as either as aldoses or as ketoses. They occur as either as aldoses or as ketoses. So if they have aldehyde group, they will be called as aldoses, or if they have ketonic group, they will be called as ketoses. The number of N here, or the number of carbon atoms, will range from 3 to 7. So they will be classified into different classes by the help of this carbon number. They will be classified as trioses, tetroses, heptoses, which we will be discussing in the next video. Okay, and we will discuss about the biomedical importance. So basically, the N number or the carbon number can be from 3 to 7. Okay, now coming towards the oligosaccharides. Oligosaccharides are the carbohydrates which contain 2 to 10 monosaccharide units in them, which will be obtained on hydrolysis. So oligosaccharides are the saccharons or sugar which when hydrolyzed will give 2 to 10 units of monosaccharides. What are their characteristics? They are mildly sweet, often soluble in water, and they have the units that have more than 3 carbon atoms are usually not digestible. Okay, so it is an important point that the units of oligosaccharides which have more than 3 monosaccharide units are not usually digestible. So the most important oligosaccharides from our perspective are the disaccharides. Are what are disaccharides, which include sucrose, maltose, and these kind of things. Okay, now coming towards polysaccharides are the units, as the name shows, polysaccharon, many sugar. They contain many monosaccharides in them. Okay, they contain many monosaccharides in them, and when will they be obtained? They will be obtained when polysaccharides will be hydrolyzed, and polysaccharides are hydrolyzed under specific conditions. We may call them as hydrothermal conditions. So the polysaccharides are tasteless and form colloids with water. Now they contain many monosaccharides. So the monosaccharides may be same or may be different. If they are same, they will be called as homopolysaccharides. But if they are different, they will be called as what? They will be called as heteropolysaccharides. The homopolysaccharides include starch and glycogen, and starch will be further hydrolyzed to dextrins, which we will see later that will be further hydrolyzed to maltose, and maltose will be further hydrolyzed to what? It will be hydrolyzed to glucose. So the starch and the dextrins are the examples of homopolysaccharides, while hyaluronic acid and heparin are the examples of heteropolysaccharides. The biomedical importance of all these classes will be discussed in the next video. Okay, so that's all for today. I hope you find this video useful. Stay tuned and subscribe to my channel.